Maths in minutes. There are about 40 books on this website, thebaakbequest.com. Small letters, lowercase. The topic today is indices. This is an index. That's singular. And these are indices. Index, indices. Not 3 weeks, not 4 weeks, just one lesson. In a couple of minutes. Not 500 exercises to waste time. A square times a cube is a to the 5. A to the 5. That means if you have to do a similar sum yourself, you discover when it is times that you have to add these two. It's still multiplication. The 1 is left out. This is actually a to the 1, but we don't put that 1, of course. But you still have to add 1 and 2 to get a cube. If this is area and this is height, then we have volume. Well, if you see multiplication, you obviously see that you have to add. Now we have division. Well, it's obviously that you have to deduct. It's right there. 5 negative 2 is A3. That cannot be difficult. And again here, this means a to the 1. 4 negative 1 is 3. Ah! This is a to the 1. 1 negative 4, aha! The negatives are winning by 3. This can also be written as 1 on a cube. That's the same thing. So a to the negative 3 is the same as 1 on a cube. Well, if 6y to the 4 squared is 30y8, obviously plus take away, then obviously this is multiplication, otherwise it could never be 8. The square of 6 is 36, y to the 8. This is a very peculiar one. A cube divided by a cube. Well, if we do 3 negative 3, then we can write a to the naught. But of course something divided by itself is also 1. So we have to learn that anything to the naught is 1. 3 negative 3 is naught, or something divided by itself is 1. So these two are the same. Anything to the naught is 1. Ratio and proportion. We have to divide 90 in the ratio 2:7. Step 1 recipe, add, so you have 9 parts. If 9 parts is 90, 1 part is 10, 2 parts is 20, 7 parts is 70. Ratio. First step, add the parts. 90 divided by 9 is 10, times 2 is 20, times 7 is 70. This is just a typical sum. These numbers and this pro numeral, instead of a numeral, they're in proportion. That means 6x equals 3 times 24. So 6x is 72, x is 72 divided by 6, law of the opposite is 12. That's only one sum. Well, sum, it's actually a problem. We have done expressions, but now we have quadratic expressions. That means if we explain this is 20, it is like 24 times 34. Expanding is we have to multiply it out. Instead of an algorithm, we do it by... So this is like 35 times 24 as an algorithm. 4 5s, 4 3s, 2 5s, 2 3s. Same here, 4 steps. Step 1, x is x squared. Step 2, positive 5x. Hold your horses. So we don't write that out because we know that step 2 and step 3 are x's. So we can combine them mentally, not show the necessary working, because it is not necessary. It is stopping you from thinking and become an intelligent person. But I have the idea after 50 years that they don't want you to think. They want to manipulate you, so that you buy a new table every week because the advertisement tells you to. I have become very vicious. So, step 2, positive 5x. Step 3, negative 3x. The positives are winning by 2. And the signs are different. So it's negative 15. Mentally combine steps and 3. It is always the same. So why should you do 50 sums to keep you busy? We have to practice your brain, not your pen. They are specials. Still expanding. As I said, we use eye, ear, and touch. 3 senses are at work. If we work this out, so that means x positive 2 times x positive 2, it's the same as the previous one. Combine step 2 and 3, but this can be done quicker. Because there is a pattern. The mind is a pattern making system and a pattern using. So we're going to work out how we can go from there to there. Okay, first step, x squared. Here we are. Then go back. 2 times 2 is 4x. This is just a habit, a routine. X squared, go back, 4x, positive 2 squared. Routine, not, how is this again? Nah. Same here, x squared. Negative 6x, positive 9. Because negative 3 times negative 3 is positive. When the signs are the same, in multiplication and division, the result is positive. There is only one rule. When the signs are the same, it's positive. And when the signs are not the same, well, obviously that is negative. But that is not a separate rule. It is the result of the first one. We do that again. X squared, positive 8x, positive 16. X squared, negative 10x. We do that with our eye. X squared, now we see the negative, negative 10x. Negative 5 times negative 5 is positive 25. I'll do that again. X squared. So I have gone up. Now I go down, but I have already seen the negative. So we say that. But not when I point it out, because I'll lose my rhythm. X squared. You see the negative, so you say negative 6x. Negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. Same here. X squared, you've seen the positive. 8x. Positive 16. 8 squared. You've seen the negative. Negative 10x. 2 negatives make a positive. So this is expanding, and the opposite is factorizing. Factorizing is like a factory that makes product. So factorizing is to turn this into a product. So expanding is from here to there, and factorizing is back to there, so that it is a product. A product. Factorizing quadratic expressions. So this is a quadratic expression. not equals naught or y, no. So you know that it has to look like this. So because you know that it's going to look like this, we start drawing that. So not, how does that get? No. Because you know that it has to look like this. So you can start drawing this and fill it in later. But instead of thinking, because that puts you off, you can now start. You see this and you draw this. Action. There's not a second in between. See and do. That's not difficult. I mean, X. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 2 X's. That cannot be difficult. That is stage 1. And then we're going to fill in some numbers here, of course. And there is a system. We have to find two numbers that if you multiply them, you have negative 15. And if you add them, then the positives are winning by 2. So this is an exercise by trial and error. Because 15 can be 15 times 1 and 5 times 3. So that gives you already the idea. You have two possibilities, but 15 and 1, that doesn't add up to 2. So that is automatically gone. So we know we have to play around with 5 and 3. So we have positive 3 and negative 5, or positive 5 and negative 3. But the positives are winning by 2, so this is the clue. So negative 15. Positive 5 times negative 3, so this is okay. But it could also be negative 5, positive 3. So now we have to check who is winning. The positive is winning with 2, so it's not negative 5, it's positive 5 and negative 3. Stage 3, we fill in the missing numbers. 1, 2, 3. Stage 1, we put this, action. Not thinking, how do you do this? No. And 2, 3, 4, X, X. Then do this exercise. And all you have to do is fill in the negative 3 and fill in the positive 5. Waste of time to do 50 of those exercises, because the idea is that you learn to use your brain, not your pen. We now go from quadratic expressions to quadratic equations. So before we had this, but now this same thing equals naught. So now it is an equation, because we have to find what this x is. We're going to factorize this, because they both have an x. So put the x outside, start the bracket. And because we have to get x squared, so this becomes now x. We have the x outside, so all you have to do is negative 6. Takes the x out of it, take the x out of it, the x goes outside. There's still an x left. and only the negative 6 because the x is here. Okay, x times x negative 6 is naught. There are two possibilities. Either x is naught, because naught times something is naught, or x negative 6 is naught. That can only be naught if x is 6. So you have two possibilities. Two possibilities. Quadratic equation. Two possibilities. X is naught or x is 6. We look at the 3 and the 12, we know that 12 is divisible by 3. So now the 3, not the x, but the 3 goes outside. And so there is still, the 3 is outside, so there's still an x squared. The 3 is outside, so we still have the negative 4. Because 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. Now 3 cannot be naught. So x square, if x squared is 4, then this also becomes naught. When you have an even index, you always have two answers. Because two positives make a positive and two negatives make a positive. Even index, two answers. So not x is 2, no, because 2 times 2 is 4. But negative 2 times negative 2 is also 4. Two answers. The 3 goes outside, so the x is still inside. Negative 27 divided by 3 is negative 9. So now the 3 cannot be naught, so this is naught. That means x squared has to be 9 to make it naught. Index is even. We have two possibilities. X is not just 3, no. X is positive 3 or negative 3. Recipes tells you how to do things. You don't have to think, because when you think, that goes wrong. You start to panic. As soon as you do this, you see the arrows. Not how do you do this, no, recipe. You see this situation, fractions, and you know if you multiply this, is the same as when you multiply this. So x squared is 16. It is an even index, so we have again the square root of 16. The opposite of square is square root. But we don't write that down because we do that mentally. Because we know that 4 times 4 is 16. Same here. This line equals that line. And you look first. This is 5x equals 3x. So I rather have the bigger one on the left. if the 5 had been here and the 3 there, so I can see that this 5x and that is 3x. I want the 5x on the left. 5x positive 60. Now this line is 3x positive 6. That looks already much better. The x's go to the left and the number goes to the right. Positive 3x is negative 3x on that side, so the positives are winning by 2. Negative 60 here and positive 6. The negatives are winning by 54. You only think this because it's not so complicated. 5 take 2 is 2. Negative 6, that's 54. You don't write that down, you think that and you have it. So x is negative 27. Mental work. I have it now on one page, the one we did before. A quadratic expression. We have to factorize it. So straight away, as soon as we see this, we draw this. There's no thinking involved, just a recipe. Pa, ta, 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 x, x. It's always the same. Now so this is the same sum as before. We have to find two numbers. The sum is positive 2 and the product is negative 15. So we said before that is positive 5, negative 3, that's negative 15, tick. Positive 5, negative 3, the positive number 2, tick. So instead of this equals naught, we have x negative 3 times x positive 5 is naught. Two possibilities. This can only be naught if x is 3. So don't write, these are not the answers. No, you have to fill in these numbers first here. Because then x is 3. And this can only be naught when x is negative 5. So don't stop here, because these are not the answers. I should actually have put equals naught. Yeah, so from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, x equals naught. And then find your two mystery numbers. Product negative 15, the positive is winning by 2. Negative 3 and positive 5. Because positive 3 and negative 5, that is okay here. But then the negatives are winning, so the second one cancels the first one. So we fill in, the numbers are negative 3 and positive 5, but those are not the answers. That's why I'm saying I should have filled in this equals naught. Well, this can only be naught if x is 3 or x is negative 5. So this is a quadratic equation. So we have to find the values of x. And there's always two values. instead of trial and error, we have an all-purpose formula. So that gives you the answer direct. And that is, of course, for the following lesson. So before we did trial and error, and that is easy enough when the numbers are so not when you have 36 and 52. Forget about it. So only, and of course in school, if it is supposed to be trial and error, it's easy to find the numbers. But as soon as I have more than x squared, well, forget about your trial and error, because that doesn't work anymore. So as soon as you this, forget about trial and error. It doesn't work. That's a headache. So the formula, this is the general form. Well, that is ABC, so that cannot be difficult. Ax squared positive bx positive c. So if we have this quadratic equation, then obviously this is 2, the b is negative 3, and the c is negative 7. That cannot be difficult. This is a specific form. This is the general form, that next time these letters go in the formula. And all you have to do in the formula, in this case a is 2, and instead of b you have negative 3, and instead of c you have negative 7.